quite a heroic character. He's completely uncompromising, which is why he's such an extraordinary character, and why there's a 300-foot monument still standing in Scotland.
It's a wonderful story, and I hope that people understand how important it was to this man to fight for what he believed in.
It's an epic film. It really is life and death and darkness and the light.
Action! And a picture of his scope to actually be in front of the camera and behind the camera. It's ambitious. I must admit I burned a few brain cells on it. This is going to be a picnic.
The driving force behind this is his passion for the project, and it comes right from the feet up.
And I think this film has compassion. And I think that comes from Mel's heart.
Really?
Stand by. Let's get our original positions, please. Here we go. Room.
Sound speed.
E-camera marker.
Action.
I want this Wallace's heart on a plate.
Shift nervously from foot to foot, guys, in the background.
Is he going to send you? Look up to your commanding officer. Is he going to send you? Eyeball him. What's going on?
What are you waiting for? Lead them!
I never was conscious of a point when I wanted to be an actor or a director or anything else. It just kind of happened. I'm a real film nut. In the 60s, when I was growing up, I was mainly acquainted with film through television. And I like the big ones, you know. I like the big country, you know, that film, that Western. I like Double Indemnity with Fred MacMurray and Barbara Stanwyck. Romantic films, you know. But at the same time, I liked Spartacus, you know, the huge epic films. These films were great films, great films. You can still watch them and still get the same buzz off them. And it was the epic films that really inspired me to do Braveheart.
Stand by.
This is a little bit of cinema history. Rarely do you see this many people in the shot.
The script was given to me on an acting basis, of course, but I felt like I had to tell the story all of a sudden because I kept reworking scenes in my head, you know. So that's a fairly good indication that you should probably direct it if you're building the images and sequences in your head. The script was a very haunting piece of work. It wasn't predictable, and just the sheer size of it, and it's just a funny corner of history that I'd never heard of before. It's based on a character called William Wallace, who did exist in the 13th century in Scotland. He was a commoner. He was also a patriot, and he was actually successful in defeating the English. Wallace was truly interested in liberty and loved his country, and he really just wanted to be free and wanted freedom for his fellows. But at the same time, he was kind of a savage. Because at the Battle of Stirling, he skinned the commanding officer on the other side and turned him into a belt. Probably a matching handbag and shoes, too, but this is the dichotomy of the man.
My wife and I were in Edinburgh, and we walked into the castle there and saw the statue of William Wallace. I thought, this is a Wallace, a famous Wallace, and I'd never heard of him. And I asked one of the guards there who he was, and he said, well, he's our greatest hero. And I began to read about him, but the actual facts of William Wallace's life, as established by historians, are minuscule.
It's kind of sketchy, and you have to fill in. But luckily, there's also a lot of legend that surrounds the character.
Those legends gave me a window into who the man truly was, how he had felt about his country, who he had loved, how he had loved.
I'm playing Murren, who is the woman who William Wallace falls in love with. And it starts in the marketplace where they notice each other again, and I think it's a love at first sight thing. And there's a link there from an early age.
They knew each other when they were kids, and they had this kind of a spiritual bond early on. And when he came back for her, and it was all meant to be.
She represented his desire to live in peace. He didn't want to go and fight and kill and suffer. He would have liked to have lived in peace, to have raised a family. And she was the thing that propelled him. He carried her with him always, whatever he did, wherever he went.
Catherine McCormick hadn't done much before. I think she'd done a small film, and I just kind of got a vibe off her. I just liked her. She's a very likable person. She's beautiful. The character needed to be beautiful. She's a good actress, and she seemed just right for that part.
Action.
First day was very tense. I was, oh my God, big budget, huge budget. What do I do? But I'm working with Mel, who's, I thought, oh no, big superstar, but he's just the nicest guy, really down to earth.
Cut.
I find when I'm actually doing a scene with him, I don't get so much direction. We sort of feel things through a lot more, and he's great for ad-libbing and just letting you run with the script.
It's a very human story about real people. There's real characters on the page, and it was my job to strive to make those characters even more real. So I was casting this thing for months. And I didn't read anyone. You know, people read people, and I don't think that that's any use. So what I used to do was just sit down and talk to them for 15 minutes, and you can tell. Patrick McGoohan is a very intelligent actor who I admired as a kid. And I used to watch Danger Man and The Prisoner and all these things on television, which he conceived these things. So that I was really flattered when he agreed to do this. Patrick plays Longshanks, which is the nickname for King Edward I. He was one of England's most ruthless leaders, and he was not very fond of William Wallace. Longshanks spent most of his reign procuring Scotland and getting that within his realm so that he had control of that. And he did subdue Scotland, so he should make you feel like a subject, you know, which Patrick has the capacity to do that. His performance as Longshanks is very sinister.
And a film of this size, coupled with the responsibilities of acting and the pressure of directing, it's a very demanding task. So obviously puts a lot more pressure on Mel.
Oh, it's an absolute passion for him. He has his own point of view, and a very strong point of view.
What's wrong with having a couple of poles sliding this way, just through the shot, you know? It's totally absorbing, so that you live, eat, breathe, sleep this story and the telling of it.
The cavalry's behind you. Start running everywhere. Entourage, take off.
It's like being dropped in the middle of an ocean, and you just look around and there's nothing but water around, but you figure, well, there's got to be land. I think I'll go that way, and it's just one stroke at a time. I had to get up earlier than everyone, really, because I had to get dolled up and ready for the task ahead.
Okay, we're gonna shoot. Fire, please.
What I was doing was just hopping in front of the camera, doing it as best I could, hopping off, looking at it. If it wasn't a total disgrace, I might do another one for safety and get the hell off.
Oh, man, that's a good camera.
Yeah, okay. Because I was so focused on the storytelling and all other aspects of the whole thing, it brought a lot of relaxation to it because I simply didn't have the energy left to be tense with. Scotland was very rainy. I mean, it rained almost constantly. Not the real teeming kind of rain, but the kind of rain that always drizzles and never stops.
They had chosen to do the filming up near Inverness. And when the filming began, they discovered that it was one of the rainiest places, in fact, the rainiest spot in all of Europe.
It's all a question of conditioning. We just decided to shoot. I just said, you can't worry about the weather. You just got to go for it. Otherwise, you'd never get it done if you stopped every time it rained. And so we just shot it. I got to get used to it anyway. Let's do it! Well, it was miserable. We had to do take after take after take after take.
Hey, here we are. Go! Let me think! Take one!
Action! Cut. Hold it! Hold it! Cut.
Take three!
Ooh.
Well, obviously the horse doesn't want to stay here, but...
Hold it!
I was getting phone calls, and they were telling me, oh, the conditions are just miserable. It looks absolutely gorgeous, but every step is an effort.
I think it helped creatively on the film. The mud got all over everyone's clothes and on their faces, and it created a look that we would not have had if the weather didn't design it for us.
It's primitive, man. There's dirt under their fingernails. But as it would have been, you know. In the 13th century, I'm sure that the mortality rate was high, and anybody that managed to survive was of really hardy, strong stock. If the plague didn't get them, or if they weren't eaten by leprosy or some horrible thing, if you lived past the age of 30, you were a Superman.
She meets him because the king organized a meeting to make a compromise for peace. They come from two different worlds. She's a princess, he's a poor Scottish man. But somewhere she realized that they are very similar, and she feels with him not lonely anymore.
Longshanks selected the bride for his son, Edward II. He picked this beautiful woman who was brought to London to meet a man that she didn't know, who didn't know her. and there was truly nothing between the two of them.
It's her big day because she's getting married. And we realized during the scene that her husband doesn't love her, and he probably loves someone else. And this someone else is just behind my back, and he's a young man. So it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. The fact is that she's not loved.
I found that relationship fascinating, and Mel captured it in absolute beauty with looks.
I know you're doing great, but I think it's the last one you look up here.
In their wedding, there's no dialogue at all. It's shot with just looks, but he absolutely captured the separation of these two people and the tragedy of two people brought together and expected to love each other when there was nothing between them.
Mark up.
Sophie has been in film since she was like a kid. She's very experienced and a big star in France. So she knows her way around a film set, and she knows what to do in front of the camera.
Now, Sophie, peek out.
She's regal. She's literally like a statue, a living statue. I mean, she's very statuesque. And I think comes off great in the film.
Cut.
Mel's a good director of actors because himself, he's a really, really good, excellent actor.
That's my supposed sphere of expertise, you know, so I try and make it as comfortable for them as I can. And if they're comfortable, then they'll be more relaxed. And if they're more relaxed, I think you'll get better things from them. The best way to access any of this stuff is to, like, have fun with it. And the rest will follow. I mean, you just can't take it seriously.
He's a grand lad, good sense of humor, bit of devilment in him, certainly. He's just good fun.
I mean, you're there, and there's thousands of people all around, and you're the guy who's responsible for all this budget, all these people. It's all on your shoulders. So you might as well not get worried about it, because the minute you start doing that, you're going to get yourself into a knot.
Now, you have achieved more than anyone ever dreamed. And I'm Robert the Bruce in this film. He's sort of the head of the nobles, whom William Wallace comes to visit to basically try to get them on their side, to unite the country to beat the English. And it's an interesting character because he's kind of a bit of a lost soul. He wavers. He's constantly drawn to the darker aspects of compromise and wealth and preserving the castles and the lands which he has, along with all of the other wealthy people in that country.
217 Peter, take one.
Unite us. Unite us. Right. He did fight for the English. The nobility was famous for just switching sides. I mean, for whatever worked for them, they'd do it. See, there was no sense of that unity that Wallace had. They changed their loyalties like people change their underpants, you know.
The dynamic between William Wallace and Robert the Bruce is one of the most exciting aspects to the whole story. In fact, it may be, in some ways, the true heart of the picture. Because William Wallace would rather shed every drop of his blood than yield an inch. But Robert the Bruce was more like I think most of us are. He was a man who wanted to do the right thing, but also tried to face the realities of life and make the compromises that were necessary. One of the things that I knew that I wanted to do with this picture was to make it so that it moved all the time. I watched all the battle films I could lay my hands on to see the kind of territory that's been covered before, and then tried to go further with it and really get the feeling of what it must be like to be in the middle of a 13th century battle. Get the smell of it.
Your friends are being hacked to pieces. They're getting war picks slammed into their helmets, and their brains are falling out. My God.
You have to execute it like a battle. So a large number of people sat around the table, and we actually planned these battles out, did storyboards and the whole 9 yards, because we knew that once we got in there, we were going to have to rely a lot on pre-planning.
So be absolutely still, and just look straight ahead at what you got to do and what might be coming at you.
We recognized early that the secret to this was going to be getting some sort of disciplined assistance. We needed 1,600 disciplined extras, and the only place you're going to find them are in the army.
We're using the FCA here in Ireland, which is their volunteer force, so we're blessed by using disciplined troops. We drew up a document known now as the battle plan, which is an interlocking tent system to accommodate 1,400 men, where they come in the morning in fatigues, and then, having gone through the system, come out in the other end as Scots.
We were fortunate to have the reserve army, and they were divided into companies of 50. But it was an incredible system. They'd start in the wardrobe tent and put on their battle gear. Then they moved down to makeup.
Get your sunscreen on, then get your dirt on. Let's go.
And we put war paint on them, and then they'd smear themselves with dirt and mud to make them look like real savages.
Rub it well in, backs of your legs, backs of your necks. Do your ears, check the guy up next door.
And then finally we'd march them down into the armory where we had thousands of battle toys for them to pick from.
Come on, guys, it's not a shop. Just pick one up and go.
There were some days there when there were over 2,000 people involved, and with but one purpose, with but, one vision, which is, it's kind of cool to have all those people working for that one shot. There's 1,000 bare asses. That's got to be in the Guinness Book of Records, the most bare asses on screen in one shot. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And that is accurate. The Scots, they used to lift their kilts and flash the other side. They used to freak the other side out.
The military brilliance and innovative spirit of William Wallace is one thing that certainly comes through in the film. He was inventive. He was a genius of military strategy. He was an instinctive battlefield commander. And it's fascinating to look at a man who was able to pick up a sword and stand his ground on the battlefield.
Wallace was the first person to really stand up against these horse charges with the use of the schiltrum, which is like a lot of sharpened wooden stakes. They could group into a small thing and have a porcupine skin so nobody could gain access. Because they didn't have bullets, They had to get in there and stick you with something.
We have some more sticks in here, some more schiltrons.
Yep, schiltron.
It's just looking a little light.
The violence of battle has got to be recreated. And to do that without hurting anybody, that's the trick, and that's what we're about right now.
We're trying to recreate a stunt which we're not allowed to do anymore. But what it does, it somersaults the horse and throws the person off.
There are certain things that you shouldn't and can't do with animals anymore. So I got together with Mick Rogers and said, let's make mechanical horses. We don't want to hurt any real horses. We make ones that look real and do hideous things to them.
They're basically foam, but they have a metal structure inside, so they weigh about 250 pounds apiece. But we'll have to go through like a test period where we have to make sure the horse is working right, because this is not something you just don't want to do it over and over again. You want to do it one time and walk away.
Get ready to shoot, Hunter.
All right, the track is now live, so keep off the track.
Stay off the tracks.
This shot here, it's expensive. These horses cost $100,000, and the track costs about $40,000, and the time involved, 30 stunt guys. We're trying to put 9 horses, 3 of them mechanical, crashed at one time.
Here we go. And roll.
It's great. I don't think anyone's ever done that before.
And action!
If you can spot them, you can have $10, That's only you I'm talking to. When you're doing battles, you have to have the choreography of the hand-to-hand stuff planned and blocked. Bang! Bang! It's interesting because they use primitive weaponry. The axe, yours for the axing. Just quite an impressive, just a big chopper.
Oh, that's some piece of work.
Deep injuries, mainly impact implements. The hammer, the common garden mallet. There's the chain with the ball and chain. Just a 360-degree impact instrument. I invented this myself, and it's just like to wear over the forearm as a protection from things that fly up. And I said, while you're at it, hey, stick some arrowheads in it so I can jag people with it and stuff. That's where my imagination's at.
Cut it.
We got some great toys now that people from the past didn't have. You know, Kubrick, when he did Spartacus, didn't have the toys that we have now. You load the arrow machines up with rubber arrows, and it's like a bank of mortars all lined up on the back of a truck, hook up to an air cylinder, and you just like pull the plug and it goes, and everything just goes. Wallace was a man of the people, and he had a real vision for what the country could be, and his men loved him. They'd follow him into hell.
Stand by, ready, and action!
We spent 6 weeks in that Battle of Stirling. There's something like 8 cameras. You get out there and then throw those cameras around and, you know, go for it.
The haunting thing for me out here on these fields of Ireland right now is that when I look at Mel Gibson, I think this is precisely what it felt like on the day of the battle. And I think when we see Mel Gibson on the screen, we're going to see William Wallace.
I love it. I can't really work on something unless I'm, you know, enthusiastic and proud of it. And it's very satisfying to be able to tell a story and tell it the way you want to tell it. And it's kind of nice to know that you could create this thing. But the good news is that you know, all that hard labor paid off.
I think that Mel's made a terrific film. I mean, it's a wonderful story, and I can't believe that no one's written a story about this man before, because he's just such a passionate person. I think it's important that people know about this man.
I hope that they can't talk at the end of it. I hope that they're so moved and so, like, inspired by it. That's all. That they've watched this great story and that they've found something in themselves.